Welcome to BWC News. I am Elizabeth. At a June 13 hearing of the House Financial Services Committee, U.S. Treasury Secretary Yellen responded to questions from lawmakers about the risks of de-dollarization by acknowledging that the dollar's global reserve currency status could decline and conceding that some countries may seek alternatives to the dollar. She also answered a question about whether the U.S. should slow the pace of its use of sanctions, noting that even traditional U.S. allies, such as France, have recently been making non-dollar transactions. However, Yellen also emphasized the role of the dollar in the global financial system and the difficulty for other countries to replicate it. She noted that over time, the share of other assets in countries' reserve assets may gradually increase, but the dollar remains the dominant reserve asset. On the same day, the IC dollar index continued to fall, which may be due to market expectations that the Federal Reserve will suspend interest rate hikes. Yellen's speech may also have influenced the decline of the dollar index. The current international financial situation is quite unstable, and the U.S. debt default crisis is one of the more serious problems. The U.S. government is in a dire financial situation, and with the U.S. dollar as the world's main reserve currency, such a situation is likely to trigger turmoil in the global economy. In addition, the International Monetary Fund, China and other countries and regions have begun to accelerate the process of de-dollarization, trying to reduce the degree of dependence on the dollar, while China also needs to vigorously increase foreign exchange reserves to make it more secure and stable. The impact of this trend is being felt by a variety of factors, including the impact of the U.S. government's breach of trust and the uncertainty of global markets. Pakistan's oil minister Musaddiq Malik said that Pakistan paid for the first government-to-government Russian crude oil import transactions in yuan, marking a major shift in Pakistan's past dollar-dominated import and export payment policy. Malik said, according to the agreement reached between the Pakistani and Russian governments in April this year, the purchase of 100,000 tons of oil, of which 45,000 tons arrived at the port of Karachi, Pakistan, on the 11th, and the rest of the oil is on its way. He did not disclose commercial details such as pricing or discounts, but said the payment was made in yuan. Pakistan has been dependent on Middle East oil in the past, but Malik said he hoped that in the future, Pakistan's oil imports from Russia would reach 1/3. It also provides a respite to Pakistan's difficult fiscal situation. Pakistan's foreign exchange dollar crunch has not been significantly eased for nearly a year due to the long-standing failure of the Pakistani government and the International Monetary Fund to agree on loan terms. This has led to shortages of oil, coal and other energy sources on which Pakistan is highly dependent, and there is an urgent need to find an alternative currency to the US dollar to pay for energy imports. In recent times, Pakistan has made efforts to promote local agricultural products and other trade to China, and the Chinese side has provided Pakistan with facilities including loan extensions to help Pakistan tide over its difficulties, which makes RMB trade the most accessible and secure international payment solution for Pakistan. According to Bloomberg, Pakistan's use of yuan settlement for Russian crude oil imports is not only in line with Russia's desire to get rid of the dollar and euro for exports, but also conducive to promoting the internationalization of the yuan in order to weaken the dollar's dominance in the international community. These views are in line with those of billionaire Musk, Jim Rogers and economist Gregory Graham. Rogers, economist John Greets, economist Peter Schiff, and even the European Central Bank. Schiff, and even European Central Bank President Lagarde. They have warned that the dollar's reserve status will not last long against the backdrop of unchecked weaponization of the dollar by the United States. What has caught the U.S. even more off guard is that a growing number of former traditional U.S. allies are continuing to increase their efforts to de-dollarize. For example, the world's largest oil producer Saudi Arabia since 2020 has cumulatively sold a proportion of up to 40% of U.S. Treasury bonds at the same time, repeatedly declared that will end the petrodollar agreement at some point in the future. The United States does not have the right to Saudi Arabia after the implementation of the number of the latest development in the matter is June 12 news that the relevant agencies through the leaked Pentagon documents show that Saudi Arabia's crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman Al had previously threatened the United States that the oil production decision would bring economic disaster to the United States. Analysis suggests that this is a new monetary choice made by these U.S. allies against the backdrop of the U.S. economy's profligate spending on the dollar's reserve status and the Federal Reserve's continued harvesting of multinational wealth and currency spreads. For in 2022, global currencies show an almost exclusive rise in the dollar currency. It has triggered a worldwide backlash. What makes the U.S. even more surprising is that Israel has continued to sell the U.S. dollar significantly for the yuan since last year, diversifying its foreign exchange reserves. Israeli sources not long ago on the U.S. interference in the country's judicial reform is even shot back. Israel is an independent country, not a star on the American flag. Israel does not make decisions based on pressure.